Right? But how many of you are guilty of thinking, you know what, my best days have passed me by. I'm no longer 20 and 30. Now I'm 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and it's too late for me. Well, if you've ever felt that way, we're going to talk about that as well. So, with that being the case, what I'd like to do is start out by defining destiny. If you were to look up destiny in the dictionary, you're going to find that destiny is defined as what? Destiny is defined as fate. If you looked up fate in the dictionary, you're going to find that fate is defined as the supposed force that predetermines all the events which occur in your lifetime. So my question to you is, what do you suppose that supposed force is in your lives that predetermine your destiny? And guess what? It's not the economy. It's not your bank account. It's not your education. It's not your level of experience. The supposed force that predetermines our future, that determines our fate, is our mind. Henry Ford said it best, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. So creating your own destiny means when your mind believes your goals to be true, it stimulates your senses to attract you to the people, the places, and the circumstances necessary to convert your mental images into a physical reality. And that conversion process, that's what the law of attraction is all about. See, there's a reason why we're here today. It's because we all have the same goals, the same dreams, the same visions. And I'd be willing to bet that there's somebody in this room that knows how to get what you want. So you need to do what they did and you'll get what they want. Right? Find somebody more successful than you that has what you want, do what they did, you'll get what they got. Does that make sense? And all the talent, all the skills, all the resources that you need, they're not out there. They're found right in here. And that's why FAMES is such a beautiful organization. And that's why all of you should become members and become part of this so that you can move forward creating, achieving, realizing, experiencing your destiny. So with that being the case, who wants to hear my story? Anybody want to hear my story? Anybody from Michigan? We have any Michiganders in the audience? Whereabouts? Waterford. That's down by Detroit. Great place. Anybody else? Michigan? Niles. That's down in the southern Michigan. How about you? Clarkson. How come we don't live in Michigan anymore? Humidity, bugs, mosquitoes, right? Michigan's a great place to grow up, but as soon as I could get out, I survived and escaped, right? No, I'm just kidding. My folks and family still live in Michigan. Michigan's a wonderful place. But my story is this. When I was a kid, my father said, Patrick, you can achieve any goal, any dream, any vision that you want. And this is from Parents' Day, 1986, my mother and father, Jack and Lois Snow. My dad said, Patrick, you can achieve any goal that you want, any vision, any dream that you want. So when I was 13 years old, I filled out my first goal sheets. And for those of you that haven't filled out your goal sheets in a while, guess what? When you ink it, you think it. Then you live it, right? So ink it and think it, and you will experience it. Write out your goals, write out your dreams, write out your visions, even if you don't know the how. So when I was in the 8th grade, my father gave me these goal sheets. And I wrote down that I wanted to play in the NFL. That was my dream. That was my goal. That was my vision. 13 years old. So those of you that want some great goal sheets, you can go to patricksnow.com. Again, patricksnow.com. Click on free stuff. You can download all the free goal sheets that you want and then give them to your children. And if your goal sheets are a little bit outdated, update yours as well. So I decided I was going to play in the NFL. That was my goal. Played football 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, all the way through high school. Freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year. Right? Senior year, played football. But here's the deal. I was a first-team inside linebacker. Led the team in tackles, interceptions, fumble recoveries, blocked kicks, blocked punts. Was voted most valuable player, earned the sportsmanship award, and I earned first-team all-league. And you know what? Those accolades were easy because our team sucked. We were so bad October 31st, right before this game, right? October 31st, 1986, we were winless at 0 wins and 8 losses. And we're playing another team that was winless at 0 wins and 8 losses. Anybody been on a team that didn't win a game the whole year? Right? Not fun. It's brutal. It builds your character, right? So it was 0-8, Flint Kersley versus 0-8, Owasso High School. And we had 12 loyal fans that showed up with the bags on their head. You guys remember the New Orleans Aints from the 1970s? They'd cut the holes out, put the bags on the head. Well, these 12 fans, they showed up and they had a big banner, a big sign. And guess what the sign said? It didn't say Super Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, but the sign said Toilet Bowl. Because whomever lost this game was going to be the worst team in all mid-Michigan. Well, guess what? Not only did we lose this game, but we lost in double overtime. And I learned at 17 years old, life is not fair, never has been, never will be. If you want to go out and get something in life, you have to go out and get it, right? So with that being the case, went off, played college football, had a career-ending back injury, ended up transferring to the University of Montana, Missoula, Montana. The Grizzly, are you from Montana as well? There we go. So 3.5 years in Montana, I met my lovely wife, Cheryl Monahan, which later became my wife. Went off, and I got a picture there as well. That's our engagement picture from 1990. I had a six-pack then. I don't have it anymore. You can see from that. But my point is this. Graduating University of Montana, 1991, moved to Seattle, got married, had a first child, ended up in corporate sales, right? At 9/11, I was laid off. That was one strike against me. 2002, was laid off a second time. And I made a decision at 36 years old, actually about 33, 32 at that age, that never again would I ever become completely dependent on the success of another organization to ever again provide for my family. And I want to challenge all of you to make that decision as well. This country was built on entrepreneurship, on pioneers, people willing to take risks that other people aren't willing to do. And as a result of that, in the last 7 years, I have not worked a day of my life, right? I've followed my passions. I'm doing what I love, but this is not work. Going to Hawaii and getting hooked up with a presidential suite is not work. I got to tell you, Tony hooked me up like she's never hooked somebody up before. The other night, I'm checking into my hotel at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and they said, yeah, Mr. Snow, we got you in this room. We see that you're a speaker for FAMES. That means you're a VIP person. I'm like, you call me whatever you want, but you don't have to call me VIP. The only problem is we got one bed. And I'm like, that's cool, one bed, but here's the deal. There's 4 of us. We can't sleep in one bed. So they said, well, it says that you're a VIP, so let me go to the back and we'll come back. Meanwhile, my wife's in the car just waiting and waiting, she keeps saying, Patrick, what's going on? You know, there's a credit card bump, and what's going on? I'm like, no, honey, it's all okay. Don't worry about it. So they said, Mr. Snow, we see that you're a VIP. You're coming to speak for FAMES. And here's what we do. When we don't have rooms for our clients that are VIP, we upgrade them to the presidential suite. Is that okay? And I'm like, well, how big is that presidential suite? She said, it's a lot bigger than that room with only one bed. So my wife said, come on, let's go, let's go. So I get her the keys. I said, honey, I'm going to go park the car. You and the boys, you go up to the presidential suite. I didn't say the president. You go up to the hotel room. Didn't tell her what the room was. You go up there. There was a mix-up. We got switched to a different room. So I get up there after I park the car, and this presidential suite is on the 19th floor of the Tapa Tower. The thing is bigger than my house. It's got a kitchen, a dining room, 2 living rooms, a den, 2 bathrooms, and a huge monster suite. And we got windows. We can see the Awa and the windward side, right? The whole side and everything in between, right? And my wife and kids were just like, oh, Patrick, who do you know? I said, her name is Joni. She hooked me up, right? So today, after being laid off in 9/11, laid off again in 2002, if I can no longer play in the NFL, what do you suppose my goal is with regards to the National Football League? Anyone? To own a team. Zig Ziglar says there's 2 kinds of people in the world. My question to you is, which type of person are you? When I was a kid, I was a woulda, coulda, shoulda. Had hoped to someday play in the NFL. So Zig Ziglar says there are wandering generalities and there are meaningful specifics. So again, which type of person are you? When I was a kid, woulda, coulda, shoulda, had hoped to someday play in the NFL. As an adult, I become a meaningful specific. And so here's my goal. My goal is to own my own NFL team. And we as a community here in Hawaii, we're going to own our own NFL team. And our team's going to be called the Hawaii Tiger Sharks. Why? Because I couldn't get HawaiiSharks.com. Some biologist, in Kailua's got HawaiiSharks.com. So I had to get HawaiiTigerSharks.com. So here's the deal. My goal is to own my own NFL team by age 50. That's 2020 in Hawaii, right? In the Honolulu area. I've already met with Scott Chan, the stadium manager. We've already talked to people in the government, and all we need to do is raise a little bit of money to make this happen. So here's my question. Some of you are thinking, who is this crazy speaker that's coming in and trying to get a team here in NFL? Because how many of you have priced an NFL franchise recently? Anybody been following Forbes magazine? How much does a team cost, right? Well, if you looked at the recent issue of Forbes magazine this year, talking about NFL franchises, you're going to see that they value somewhere between $700 million and $1.3 billion. Right? So you guys are mathematicians. With appreciation, with inflation, I'm going to need to raise $2 billion over the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So here's my question. How is it that Patrick Snow, a struggling underdog, someone who's fighting in the arena of life doggedly, trying to achieve his goals and our goals as a community, because this is not my goal, this becomes our goal as a community. How am I going to raise $2 billion to achieve this goal? And you know the answer to that question? I have no idea. And the point is this, is we need not know the how. When you were born, did you know how to walk? When you're walking, did you know how to run? When you entered kindergarten, you know how you're going to graduate from high school, right? When you started your own small business, you know how you're going to attract your first client. It was the Reverend Martin Luther King said, you do not need to see the top of the stairwell. All you need to do is take one step, one step, one step, one step, and then eventually you end up at the top and you see how. One of my mentor's friends, a guy by the name of Larry Olson, who wrote a book titled Get a Vision and Live It. And he says this, he says, first we must taste our vision, touch our vision, smell our vision, emotionalize our vision, and finally own our vision. And once we learn to own our visions, the how slowly presents itself over time. Right? It was W. Clement Stone who said it best. He said, you want something bad enough, you tell enough other people what it is that you want, and sooner or later, someone or something will show up in your life and help you get it. Woo is right. Brian Tracy says, act boldly and unseen forces will come to your aid. Act boldly and unseen forces will come to your aid. Do you know why I tell this story every time I speak? All we need is one wealthy investor in Hawaii. Michael, what was that community you were telling me about earlier that lives up there? What's that community? What is it? Hawaii Loa? All they got to do is live up in Hawaii Loa. They write a check for $1 billion. They go to their neighbor across the street, convince them to write a check for $1 billion. We got our team. Right? So we're working on that. The point is this. If you taste your vision, touch your vision, smell your vision, emotionalize your vision, and finally own your vision, the how will present it slowly over time. If there's one thing that you can teach your children, whether they're your children or your grandchildren, and that is tell them to pursue their wildest dreams, their wildest passions. And when those people in those lives that tell them that they can't do it because they don't know how, that's where you as parents and grandparents come in and say you don't need to know the how. And you tell them when you started pursuing your passions, your dreams, your goals, your visions, you too did not know how as well. See, I tried to become a professional speaker for literally 6 years. I gave 300 speeches. I got free breakfast, free lunch, free dinner. Every now and then I get lucky and score a free pen or a free mug. Right? And nothing wrong with free pens and free mugs, but here's the deal. Being a Christian, I finally had to come to Jesus talk, and I said, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I make it as a professional speaker? And the answer I got back was, if I